Mexico, a journey through 3,000 years of history. Imagine a land where massive pyramids rise above ancient cities, where powerful empires once ruled millions of people, and where European conquerors changed the course of history forever. This is Mexico. Today, Mexico is known for its music, food, colorful traditions, and vibrant cities. But beneath the modern country lies thousands of years of history. Long before Mexico became a nation, civilizations built enormous cities, developed advanced calendars, created complex writing systems, and fought wars for power. So, how did Mexico become the country we know today? Let's travel through more than 3,000 years of Mexican history. The first civilizations thousands of years ago, the region that is now Mexico was home to early farming communities. Over time, these communities developed into some of the most remarkable civilizations in the Americas. One of the earliest major civilizations was the Olmec civilization, which flourished along Mexico's Gulf Coast beginning around 1500 BC. The Olmecs are famous for their enormous stone heads. Some of these sculptures weigh several tons, yet ancient people managed to move and carve them without modern machinery. The Olmecs influenced later cultures in areas such as religion, art, architecture, and trade. Centuries later, another civilization became famous for one of the greatest cities of the ancient Americas, Teotihuacan. At its height, Teotihuacan may have had more than 100,000 inhabitants. Its enormous pyramids dominated the landscape. The Pyramid of the Sun and Pyramid of the Moon still stand today, reminding us of the engineering abilities of the people who built them. But Teotihuacan eventually declined, and new civilizations rose across the region. The Maya in southern Mexico and Central America, the Maya civilization developed one of the most sophisticated cultures in the ancient Americas. The Maya built enormous cities, temples, and pyramids. They developed complex writing systems and studied mathematics and astronomy. They also created incredibly accurate calendars. Cities such as Chichen Itza, Palenque, and Calakmul became powerful centers of politics, religion, and trade. The Maya were not one single empire. Instead, the Maya world consisted of many different city-states that sometimes traded with each other and sometimes went to war. Even today, millions of Maya people continue to live across Mexico and Central America, keeping their languages, traditions, and cultures alive. The Aztec Empire. By the 1300s, another powerful civilization was rising in central Mexico, the Mexica, commonly known as the Aztecs. According to tradition, the Mexica founded their capital, Tenochtitlan, in 1325. The city was built on an island in Lake Texcoco. Imagine approaching the city hundreds of years ago and seeing huge temples, markets, canals, roads, and thousands of people moving through one of the largest cities in the Americas. At the center stood the enormous Templo Mayor, a massive religious complex. The Aztec Empire expanded rapidly and controlled a large part of central Mexico, but their empire also created enemies. Many neighboring peoples resented Aztec power and demanded tribute. Then in 1519, everything changed. A Spanish expedition led by Hernán Cortés arrived on the Mexican coast, the Spanish conquest. Cortés and his soldiers were vastly outnumbered, but they gained allies among indigenous groups who opposed the Aztecs. The Spanish also brought diseases, including smallpox, which devastated indigenous populations who had no previous immunity. In 1521, after a long siege, Tenochtitlan fell. The Spanish destroyed much of the Aztec capital and built a new colonial city on its ruins. Spain then established New Spain, a vast colony that included much of modern Mexico. For nearly 300 years, Spanish rule transformed the region. Christianity spread. Spanish became an important language. European animals, crops, technologies, and political systems arrived. But indigenous cultures did not disappear. Instead, indigenous, European, and African influences mixed together, creating new traditions, foods, languages, music, and communities that would eventually become part of Mexican identity. Independence. By the early 1800s, many people in New Spain were increasingly unhappy with colonial rule. Then, on September 16, 1810, A Catholic priest named Miguel Hidalgo y Costilla called for rebellion against Spanish authority. His famous call became known as the Grito de Dolores. The Mexican War of Independence began. The struggle lasted more than a decade. Hidalgo was eventually captured and executed, but the rebellion continued under other leaders, including Jose Maria Morelos. Finally, in 1821, Mexico achieved independence from Spain,